Fire Lord Ozai had been defeated, and with that, his bending had been taken, and so a new Fire Lord had to be anointed, and that Fire Lord was Fire Lord Zuko. And with that, Avatar Aang and Fire Lord Zuko promised to each other that they would usher in a new era of peace, one without war, and one where everyone could live together in harmony. But over time, that promise faded, and Zuko, slowly but surely, began to turn into something even worse than his father. Zuko realized that the reason for war was that the four nations existed, and that the four nations needed to be brought down, and with that, only one nation would rule, and he himself would rule that one nation, and so he himself would rule the entire world. His father had foolishly tried to destroy everything and recreate the world, but Zuko would unify everything and everyone into one nation, and he would rule. Zuko used political tactics and brainwashed people in the Earth Kingdom, the Fire Nations, and even in the Water Tribes to get people on his side, and slowly but surely it worked, until Zuko had the rulers of the Water Tribe and the Earth Kingdom in his back pocket. While this was going on, Zuko and Aang had managed to create the United Republic of Nations, or otherwise known as Republic City. It was still in its somewhat early days, but this was just a part of Zuko's plan, and eventually everything would be part of the United Republic of Nations. Slowly but surely, Aang caught on to Zuko's plan, and he didn't want to believe it, but since Aang was the Avatar, he had no choice but to confront Zuko and ask him if this was true. And when he did, Zuko just laughed at him, saying that the world would be balanced, unified under one nation, his nation, ruled by him and him alone. Zuko thanked Aang for his help, but said that he didn't need him anymore, and that he was going to end Aang right then and there. He then told Aang that after he killed him, he would go to the Water Tribes, search for the new Avatar, and then train them and raise them to see his philosophy and follow his example. And then that Avatar would take over his role as ruler of the entire world. Aang couldn't believe what he was hearing. Zuko was one of his best friends in the entire world. He had traveled the planet with him. He had helped him stop the Fire Nation. And this was how he turned out. Aang had no choice but to stop Zuko. And so, Aang told Zuko that he wasn't going to get away with this. Zuko just laughed and blasted fire at Aang, which Aang easily deflected. Zuko then shot a bolt of lightning at Aang, which Aang then redirected. He was about to redirect the lightning back at Zuko, but shot it at the wall instead, just like he had done with his father years before. Aang then told Zuko, "I brought down your father, and now I'll do the same to you, Fire Lord." Zuko ran towards Aang, creating fire daggers in both of his hands, and the two commenced in a battle. But since Aang was an experienced Avatar and had mastered all four elements and the Avatar state, Zuko didn't stand much of a chance. Eventually, Aang trapped Zuko and was about to take his bending away. Just before, out of nowhere, Aang felt a pain in his back, Aang then realized that he had been stabbed, and when he looked behind him to see who it was, he realized it was Azula. Zuko smiled and told his sister, "What took you so long?" Azula smiled back and said, "I knew you had it in you to become just like Dad." Aang slowly fell to the ground, his consciousness fading, as he watched Zuko break out of his earthbending holding. Zuko just walked up to Aang and told him one last thing. "I'll see you in your next lifetime." And with that, Aang had bled to death. And so the Avatar cycle continued, and a new Avatar was born in the Southern Water Tribe. Eventually Zuko found and raised that new Avatar under his principles, and after Zuko's death, that Avatar eventually became the ruler of the United Nations of the world, and ruled the entire planet with an iron fist for decades to come.